But the name of the game, to have affordable housing, unfortunately, we have to address the problem that no one wants to address. And that is higher density housing. And the reason that we have been so reluctant historically is because a lot of housing and real estate is very local, about maintaining a certain community and image, and thus we have this constant not in my backyard sentiment. So it's like, for example, you're going to have groups, older generations or whoever, and if you want to create a solution that's going to benefit a whole, you have to be accepting of part of the prescription of that. We may have to have apartment buildings and high rises in your neighborhood. Then all of a sudden people are like, I don't want that. I want to maintain my sidewalks. I want to maintain my green lawns. But what people don't fundamentally realize, it's creating the problem and time bomb that we have now that's unsustainable.
And with those higher density areas for those people that, from those older generations, it's going to come with more doors, more people, more cars, more traffic in those city areas or those suburbs for travel, because that's where the jobs are when they go into the cities. And as opposed to the older mentality of
quality of life. When people are moving and you're thinking and this is the natural tension that's going on. But if you're truly wanting to get at the root cause of what's best for the whole, the best of society, we have to come together and reconcile in terms of this issue and all make some sacrifices. The notion we have created a culture in America in the post-World War II generation that everyone should have their own home with a lawn, a picket fence, and we have perpetuated this ideal of creating suburban neighborhoods. The challenge is economically, it's not sustainable. The amount of water, resources, utilities, there's only so much land. And we can't build enough housing for the demand. And in many of these communities, like as you said, people want to enjoy. They don't want crowded streets. They don't want noise. Many of these can be eyesores. You put all of those together and it creates a fundamental conundrum. But we have to accept the reality. We have to have some sort of balance where we have a degree and acceptance of higher density usage. We have to have the conversation because all we're doing is ducking our head in the sand. You can't build your way. We cannot kid ourselves that if we build 100,000 single family homes, 1 million single family homes, the average price point's not going to dip below where a person and a young professional can afford. We'll build the homes, but when you put all the cost factors, land, what it costs, building permits, time, zoning, utilities, the finishes of what everyone wants, the median price is still going to be high.
And it's going to take years to get there.
But when you look to other countries, you go in Europe, you go in Asia, you're noticing higher density usage. Why is it only in America we insist on having a suburban community? It is not sustainable.
At least in those big cities and everything like that, I completely see what you're saying. And for the suburbs and the towns that are more rural, that's fine. But for these higher density areas where you are transiting into the cities for those jobs, those bigger companies, there needs to be some sort of middle ground of the suburban areas to that more dense areas, but yet you don't want it to have a dense area that's unsafe to all the patrons.
Without a doubt. But this is where we have to have an honest discussion. We have to go balance all in terms of stakeholders. If you look in the evolution in a lot of the communities of where we're living at in San Diego is no different in a lot of communities out across America. There are some aspects that, when we have in our downtown, that's the trapping of a big city. But if you take Carlsbad and Vista and some of the others, which were very much viewed as bedroom communities, What has happened in the last 23 years? They've brought in a lot of industry. We have an amusement park here. We have many major corporations. We also have a small airport. As a result, it's become a job center. So it's not a one size fits all when you take in one community. They have to look at a fundamental reality is, what are you doing? You've created a job center. Do you want to just go push the entire workforce 90 minutes away, 2 hours away, 3 hours away?
For those essential jobs that are providing
The
those
services
necessities.
and what's happening, because again, we're in a tourist destination. There are people who have to work in those amusement parks, in those retail stores, in those restaurants, in those hotels. They need to be close enough to their work. We just can't forget about them and say, well, they're magically going to appear. That's my point. It's an honest discussion at looking at the whole aspect. Obviously, no one wants their entire neighborhoods and their parks all of a sudden what they had, peace and serenity. Now we put it around surrounded by massive apartment complexes. But we also have to be honest about a balanced community.